Hello and welcome to Dario's Comic School, and today we will talk about Top Gun Maverick. And you might ask, but Dario, this is a comic school, why are we talking about movies? Because I would say comics are not all about the visuals. Great visuals are usually accompanied by a great story, and a great story has certain elements. Like if you're a good cook or a good painter or a good whatever, a good mechanic or a good musician, you know your craft, and it's not mechanical. It is like you perfected everything you needed to perfect. You know all the aspects of it, and then you can make the best whatever is needed. And I will say that some of those traits are in this movie, in Top Gun Maverick. It is not the best movie I've ever seen, but it is pretty good, and I want to talk about it. So usually I have notes, but today I will speak freely and we'll go through the video. I will hope that we don't take too much time, but we'll talk about the beginning, the middle, the end, the themes, certain aspects that click and that you maybe should have in your own stories. Doesn't matter if you're professional, if you're a screenwriter somewhere, or if you write comics, or if you're an independent comic writer. Those are things that will always hold true. So before we start, I wanted to discuss other movies and even a book. There are videos coming on Dune, the book, and why it is so good, by Frank Herbert. There will be a discussion on Age of Ultron and why it is so shallow. I have it right there. Age of Ultron, the movie, why it fails. We will talk about the waterfront. We'll talk about movies, because I think movies and comics are very intertwined. There are, I think, Star Wars, Darth Vader was inspired by a French comic book, maybe even The Valerian, where somebody looked like Darth Vader, and maybe they took him out of that. And yeah, it's one circle. Everybody steals from everybody, and I would consider you do the same. But if you steal something, don't be just cheap. Add something new to it. Take what you like and what you need, but also put something from yourself into it. Do not just copy for the sake of copying. We'll talk about on the waterfront and on the theme of the movie, and why that is great. On the waterfront with Marlon Brando, and we will talk about Blade Runner 2049 and what it is really about. So if you want to watch those movies or read those books, read up on them, because I will not review them but talk about them in, let's say, the storytelling class. Okay, let's start Top Gun Maverick. So from the get-go, the movie builds something, and that is theme, what the movie is about, and that's a great thing. From the beginning, the movie already knows what it is. That's something that Blade Runner, for example, does not have, and on the waterfront has also. Like, if you have this step, you will be in the clear. Doesn't matter if your book, comic, or whatever you do is good or bad. You need to nail this from the beginning, and that is the theme. What is the movie about? And I think Top Gun Maverick, I haven't Googled it yet. I mean, this is now my interpretation, but it's very clear. It states at the beginning that Maverick, played by Tom Cruise, is a dinosaur, and he will be replaced. The movie states this a couple of times, and it shows us him flying manually as a pilot, as a human with flesh and blood through the skies, versus the military that is saying, oh, we will have drones, and those will be flown by something that never gets tired, is never restless, doesn't make mistake, blind obedience, never goes against the grain. And already there in the first couple of scenes, you have already the themes, I would say, of the book. Because Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton already also states in the first few pages of the book Jurassic Park what it's about, and it's about what if science is not checked. What happens to science if it's not backed by morals or by a human being? So when you make a story, it is an unfolding of a thesis. It is something you have seen in the world, and you will comment on it as a writer or as a creator. And from the get-go, you will state, this is how the world is. So maybe there's a protagonist and he goes against the grain, or he's not what he should be or what everybody wants him to be, like Tom Cruise. And then you have a world and a worldview that is probably wrong, or that is probably doing a mistake, but everybody signs up for this. And then the movie unpeels all the levels and shows us why the protagonist maybe was right or maybe was wrong, or you know what I mean? At the end of it, we, the audience, the reader of a comic book, of a TV show, we will be smarter. And we will be smarter not only just by knowing something, not just a blind fact, but by having felt it deep in our body through the emotional system. And that's why Age of Ultron fails, because it doesn't. It has a theme. So it has a theme. It is about monsters, gods, humans, and all of that, but it doesn't hit the right beats, and it doesn't leave the audience. It just doesn't take the time to unfold the story in a proper way. So sorry, but yeah, that's important. So you need something that your book is about, like friendship, manhood, overcoming a monster, something. And yeah, we'll see how we get to that. So then Top Gun Maverick starts, and he does, the movie does also something very, very clever. And at the beginning of the movie, he does something that explains his actions in the middle. And also the way he reacts to the adversity right from the get-go shows us a lot about the character and makes him likable, because not that I would say he sacrifices himself, but he stands for something. So he gets told something and it's clearly unjust, like something unjust happens, and he opposes this injustice. And he also risks his own life to oppose this injustice. And in the middle of the movie, he does something similar. And so you have not just a characterization at the beginning of the movie, and what he stands for and what he has to oppose. So again, we have the theme, which is maybe from the top down, this is how life is. And he says, no, I'm a feeling, human, thinking being, and I do what is right, even though I might get punished. So this sets up this rebel dynamic, which makes us like him, because we would have loved, or we would love to be that character, or we would love to have a character like that on our side. And yeah. And also it sets up a thing that he does in the middle. So keep that in mind. So, and sometimes when I write stories, I don't know where it's going. But if you have a movie, or if you have a finished comic book, or if you're planning something, and let's not make it 1,000 comic books, but if you have something that has just like 5 books, 100 pages or something, then you can already say, okay, what's my theme? What's the climax? How should this end? What's happening in the middle? And you're really constructing the story the way it needs to be. So then we get introduced to him, and he's a complete badass. We get also introduced to some of his flaws, because he is a rebel. He tries to do always the right thing, but sometimes, and I think that's the Tom Cruise character. He does. He goes overboard, and that's also funny. That makes him really human because I know those traits in me when I go against the grain, and then sometimes I just overstep a few boundaries, and that's not good either. So you need to find a good balance. Um, of course, the actors are great. If you write stories and if you tell stories, take those characters you like. I think this movie has a lot of cast that is kind of aged, like Tom Cruise. He aged very well. Then we got Ed Harris, like really, really old. He plays also very well. We got Jennifer Connelly as his love interest. But the older cast really didn't do it for me. So I also, number two, kind of thought to myself when I'm watching a movie, it's not that I don't want to see old people act. Like I can see Clint Eastwood when he's young, and I can see him act when he's old. But the protagonist has to fit the role, and I think a lot of these Hollywood movies, they just cast, I don't know what kind of could blow up the movie because it's such a good cast and everything like that. I would assume if you're writing, or when I write a comic, I always see musicians or actors or people from real life where I think, okay, I like that face, I like that body, I like that old man or old woman for this scene. I like the beautiful woman or the beautiful man or the heroic looking, or you know what I mean? Cast whatever you need to cast for your story and have that in mind, and go to your heroes and to your figures which you liked, mentally, physically, and take them and put them in your copies. Again, kind of steal, but also make them your own. Do not just like, I know they took, for example, Tywin Lannister from Game of Thrones and kind of put them in Warhammer 40k as the Lionel Johnson. I kind of don't like that. I can see how people could like that, but that's just stolen for marketing sake and because people are shallow. I think that lacks a certain depth, but well, that's just my opinion. Okay, that was point two, casting what you like. Then the movie goes on, and yeah, my arms are definitely famous by now. So he goes to Top Gun, like he's about to get fired, and then he gets assigned to a mission, and the mission is not all that important. It is practically, people say, the mission that Top Gun has to go through is killing the Death Star from Star Wars, but it puts us against a great and strong adversary. There is like an impossible mission. The stakes are high because like they are building nuclear weapons. So we know already, okay, this is no joke. We got the Top Gun people, and then Tom Cruise shows up at this base, and there we have a great moment. And that's where we have the plot, we have a characterization, and then he comes back where he was once. And then he meets like Jennifer Connelly, and both are a bit older, and they used to have a thing for each other, but then he left because he's always on a mission. He's a soldier, he's a pilot, and they have like back and forth banter, very flirtatious, but it's like pretty lighthearted. And then while he's sitting there, the people come in, and one by one we get shown the best of the best, the Top Gun pilots. I think every best graduate of every year, and they are now called to come back, and the best one will be chosen, or the best team will be chosen for his team. And it's a great setup in this bar to show us each of those characters. Like we have the nerdy guy. We have Hangman, who is the cocky guy. Then we have the boss girl character, who's also a bit sweet. Then comes Miles, and he's an important part because like he's the son of the wingman that Tom Cruise lost in an earlier movie. So we get introduced to all the characters, and then we also get a certain characterizations and how everybody relates to each other. And that's where we see that Tom Cruise, and that's a great moment. That's why I'm pointing it out. Where the movie, we have the stakes in the outer world, but we have also emotional stakes, and those are connected to each other. Because Tom Cruise, that's a spoiler, so go watch the movie if you want. But Tom Cruise, the character, kind of, what did he do? He swore the mother that he would take the son out of the pilot program, so nothing could happen to him. And so I think Goose's son is mad at Tom Cruise for stalling his success as a pilot, something like that. But it wasn't Tom Cruise or Maverick's idea. It was because he said to his mother, "Okay, I will keep him out of harm's way." And now he's back in harm's way because like they are going on this mission that is impossible. And so we have different themes. We have the theme of fatherhood, family, friends. We have the big bad monster out there, something that has to be overcome. And we would now know that these people are going on a journey to fight this evil. It's like a bit something like Lord of the Rings. And there's also another dynamic, and this is like new technology, young versus old and versatile, and that's a great setup also. And we come to, before we leave this section, there's one point where Tom Cruise leaves the bar, or he gets thrown out for, I don't know, he can't pay the bill or something like that, and he gets thrown out. And so Jennifer Connelly looks at him, and we recognize that Tom Cruise has an emotional attachment to, what's his name? I don't know, but Goose's son. I'll call him Miles, and we can see the reaction from Tom Cruise's or Maverick's face to that guy, and he realizes, oh my God, this guy is maybe going on this mission, and maybe he could die, and then I couldn't keep my promise of keeping the son of my wingman out of harm's way. So we see this reaction, and it's played very well, and we can feel that. We can feel, we understand the concerns that he has, and we can also read in his face the emotion, and so it transfers into us. So as you can see, it's not told to us what we should feel. It's not like in Age of Ultron, which is a bad movie. It is shown to us in a way that we can understand and then feel it in our own bones, I would say. And then the movie goes even a bit further. It shows Jennifer Connelly, which thinks like, oh man, this Maverick is such a prick, now he's back. And that's really touching. Like, she looks at him and she can see that he's touched by something, that something is going on emotionally. And that's when all the play, the fun banter goes out of the window, and she sees a certain depth in him, and that gives the movie a certain gravitas, because it's not just all fun and jokes. Like this movie has real stakes, and they are made in the real world, and that is what I love also about this movie, that no CGI and all of that stuff. I think certain effects are CGI, and it's not all super realistic, but it creates a world that feels very real, and it has real stakes, and that's valuable because people can die, people have true emotions, and so you're you're getting a, I don't know, you're getting sucked into the story. Something that Robert Kirkman does also very well in The Walking Dead. And so from this scene here, or from the next scene, now something begins like that's called fun and games, where at the beginning of your movie, like if you have something like a quest, at the beginning of the movie, the group needs to learn certain things, and this is where they have fun and games, like Tom Cruise in Edge of Tomorrow, where in the beginning of the movie he's trying like in a computer game and failing, but then at the end of the movie, how do you say, on a bicycle, the guiding wheels, when those are removed, then it's like no fun and games anymore. Everything becomes real. And this is what this movie also does. So like in the beginning, it's all fun and games, and you learn about the characters and they're growing. And then once they have learned everything in the second part of the movie or in the third part, if you have 3 acts, now they have to display everything they learned in part 2, I would say. And this is where Maverick, or say the Tom Cruise character, now shows the young people how it's really done. Because the new generation thinks they're all hotshots, but they haven't really seen true, real combat. And yeah, I think this is also a story about hubris and fall, because like he tells the Jack Ham character, the admiral or something like that, he tells him, okay, these are your best pilots, but they're only trained for missions where they fly in 10,000 meters altitude and they drop a bomb. Like, that's not real combat. That's fake. That's not real life. That's not real combat. And if they will see a real combat, then they will not be prepared. And that's also that mirrors our world, because in our world, or in a story, there's sometimes a fake world which everybody wants to believe, oh, this is good, this is great. And then there's sometimes a character that can see through that fakeness and knows what it really takes to succeed. And that's the Tom Cruise character. And so the second half of the movie, or story, I would say, is spent taking away these layers of false bravado and taking away their hotshotness. And at the end of the second part, they are all humbled. And that's really great. Really great to see. And the last bit is then that they need to become a team. And he takes them out and they play all together football. And you know what I mean? Like, all of these themes are how to create a family, how to create a team. And that's missing, for example, in Age of Ultron. There, it is just, the movie just tells you what you should think, what you should feel, but it's not really felt. So the story, I don't say the movie, I say the story in this movie takes the time to really create these individuals, which everybody's the best and everybody's a hotshot and everybody's cool, and humbles them and then puts them back together and show how they can grow to become a family, a team, how they can depend on each other, and they go to trials and failure. And that's great, like great scenes. And not everything's perfect, but like it's all there. And that's definitely, it is definitely beautiful pictures, beautiful actors, like all the team, everybody involved knew what was to do, you know what I mean, to create a beautiful score, to create a beautiful scene. But if the story was trash, none of that would matter. So you see, that's really where it all starts, with the story, with the intention. And then we switch to part 3, and here there are also very good parts. because now there are no, how do you call it, the bicycle with the two wheels, and then like the kids have those, and now those are removed, and now everything, now the stakes are real, and that's really great. So now they go into the mission, and of course doesn't go the way it's planned, but it goes okay. And in part two, also Fury does this, like the movie with Brad Pitt. In the first part, or let's say first and second part, we get introduced to all the boss monsters. Let's say you can't do this or you will die here. You can't do this or you will die here. You can't do this or you will die here. So maybe there are 5 stages, or let's say 10 stages, to get to the final boss and to get out with a princess. And so in the first parts of these kinds of movies or stories, we get introduced to all the pitfalls and how they can be overcome. And sometimes we think they cannot be overcome. And then there's a character, let's say like the mentor or the Tom Cruise character, which shows us they can be overcome. But then it is up to the young bucks to really make it. And so we start part 3 with a mission. We go in, and of course the visuals are great, the action is great. Yeah, all that is a really good part. But, and now comes my favorite part, not my favorite, but Dune 2, the movie, really screwed this up, because the Harkonnens were just stupid and no opponents at all. But here, every opponent, every enemy is like a level 10 boss. It's not that they are unbeatable, but they are super smart. They will not hesitate, and you really can feel it in your gut that the stakes are really high, and you're clawing your edge of the seats because you're so in the movie, in the story. And so they have to fly under radar. There are unpredictable things that are happening, and then they're flying the mission. And from a certain point, they are engaged in enemy dogfight with enemy pilots. And there is, I don't know if they're Russian, but they're flying MiGs. And there is a dogfight against 2 superior MiGs. But yes, they have the superior tech, but that's not the point. The point is that the way the enemy acts and reacts, at a certain point, there's like they almost like again, Tom Cruise, the Maverick character, is like really good, and he's almost got the enemy MiG pilot, but the pilot makes then an incredible, I don't know what he does, but an incredible maneuver with his MiG, and he and his wingman are just stunned, like, what was that? And we as the audience are also stunned. And so on that level, it's not, okay, these are not paper tigers, or these are not just movie evil bad guys. These are real enemies. They are from the real world. They are really trained people. These people are equally as good, and they fight for their own cause. And that is when the stakes go even higher. And I love that, like the portrait that the bad guys are not just some evil mustache twirling idiots, but they're a real menace, a real people, and that is all the time there, which makes it so exciting. Like the level of excitement is just so high. Like the movie builds on itself, and it gets better and better. And for the ending, I don't want to spoil anything, but there are some really cool elements that, yeah, show us that mirror somehow the beginning. It's about resourcefulness. It is very creative. They have fun with the story and with the elements they have. Like, it's not cookie cutter. I couldn't predict what would happen. I couldn't. I mean, I could predict what would happen in Age of Ultron, because it was written so linearly and stupid. But this, and I don't want to say that Top Gun Maverick is not linear, But there are certain things which you couldn't predict that would happen, and that makes it so much fun. And it really understands the parts, the protagonists, and the toys they have to play with, like the parts of the story, and they use those to really make the best of it. And at the end, yeah, again, I don't want to spoil much, but there are themes of fatherhood, brotherhood, again, resourcefulness that maybe a human can overcome everything he puts his mind to, that there's a certain mind probably in the new generation from the top down or even from the young people that just know how to do a thing one way. But the Top Gun Maverick character really is someone from an older generation that can see possibilities and isn't afraid to use these possibilities to his advantage, even if they don't come in the best package. I can't say more than that without spoiling the whole movie. But if you've seen the movie and you're watching this long, you might know what I'm referring to. And yeah, everybody gets a great scene. The enemies are threatening until the very end, and a great movie. So, I don't know. I talked a lot. I hope you could take away some of the important parts. It is not that I'm saying in this video, okay, you need this and that and this, and at minute 30 you will do this. It is more broadly, and maybe you can sense some of the things that are very important, or maybe because I'm not very specific, you're not gonna, how do I say it? Not gonna, yeah, you're much more fluid with the things you have, and you will find a structure. You will have the structure. You will do it yourself. But it's not given to me. It's just I mentioned what could be important, and I'm sure that if you're a writer, if you're a creator, if you're a fan of movies, stories, comics, you will have the sensibility to create something that's interesting. And if it's not in this comic, movie, or TV show or book you're writing, then it's in the next. I see you.